Welcome to Fifth and State, your inside look at everything Garland, unscripted. Join Mayor Dylan Hedrick and City Manager Judson Rex as they dive into the topics shaping our city. Let's get started.
Hello, Garland. Welcome back to Fifth and State, the podcast where we take you behind the scenes of the city of Garland and all the intricacies of our local government. I'm Mayor Dylan Hedrick.
And I'm City Manager Judd Rex.
I hope you're fired up today about this episode.
Fired up.
Yes.
Pun intended.
Already starting it.
Let's
yes,
get the dad jokes going.
Indeed. We have a special guest again with us here today. We have Fire Chief Mark Lee. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks. It's an honor to be here today. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, we look forward to talking about all things fire and EMS. I know last episode we had our police chief on, so now it's your turn. We saved the best for last.
That's the way I looked at it, sir.
Yes, great.
Let's hope Chief Bryan didn't hear that.
I hope he did.
So, Chief, we want to know, getting into the podcast, last time I gave a story about how I was a fabulous Friday, and we had a dispatcher come and talk about the different 10 codes, and I was trying to think of a good fire story I could share with you, other than I just have a few buddies from high school who are now, they're firefighters themselves, one down in Corpus Christi, another in the Plano department. So
nice.
It's happy to have two good friends that are both serving our community like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's fabulous Friday. The firemen were probably working that day, so they couldn't make it by.
They probably were, yes. Yeah. Well, Chief, we just wanted to, get right into it. So what inspired you to become a firefighter?
Golly, it's such a loaded question. Elvis's date of death, and I don't remember what year it was, but I was like 16 years old, and I got hired in the local hospital as a janitor. And so I worked as a janitor for a little bit, started paying attention, moved up to the lab doing blood draws, and then eventually to the ER because I thought I was on the track to be a doctor. And I started paying attention to the doctors that would come through and see the patients. They were always grumpy, head down, not really smiling. And through the other door, the firemen were coming in, and they were always laughing and having a good time, and I decided that's the job for me. And so here I am.
It's interesting you got your start in a hospital. That same friend of mine who's down there in Corpus, he actually met his wife as he was taking a patient in the emergency room, saw a cute nurse across the patient there on the table.
Perfect. Perfect.
Now they've been married for over a decade.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That probably happens more than we think.
It happens a lot. Happens a lot. Yeah.
Well, great. We want to bring you in, talk a little about our fire service. So I'm curious. I know we talked to when the police, they get so many calls. We're curious, how about yourself? How many calls do you get a year? What type of incidents do you respond to? Just give us a little overview of what you guys do.
This last fiscal year, we responded to a little over 30,000 calls, and all of those were considered emergency responses. Of the 30,000, roughly 21,000 of those are EMS calls, and the rest are fire-only calls. And one thing that people have to remember, when we say it's an EMS call, it's not just an ambulance went. It usually had a big red truck following the ambulance to the scene. So all of our people have served 25 to 30,000 calls per year. And it can be anything under the sun. I mean, it's was listening to a story a couple of weeks ago of one of our guys that had to rescue a bird out of a tree, and you think that sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you.
That's all you guys do is rescue cats out of trees and animals, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Cats, birds, dogs out of sewer drains, and then fight fires and, go to car crashes and all that stuff as well. But it's always been described as 911 is a person's last-ditch effort to solve their problem. So they have gone through all of their own resources and all the things they know to do, and they run out of options, so they call 911, and we're expected to show up and make that day better for them. And so we give it everything we got to try to make that happen.
And we appreciate that. Certainly, you guys are always there for us 24/7. And you said, interestingly, when you gave your number 30,000 calls, over 2/3 of those were EMS calls and not just fire calls. Mm-hmm. So really, you're almost a medical service with a fire department attached to it.
There's some fire departments that describe themselves that way, and I do not. I consider us the Garland Fire Department that provides EMS services as well, and our people are focused on both tasks and not one primarily over the other, because There's high frequency, low frequency, high risk, low risk. And for our firefighters, the EMS calls are typically high frequency, low risk. And so we try to prepare for the high risk, low frequency calls, and that would be the other side of our career, and that's the fire side.
So give us a little example. You said high frequency, low risk. Can you give us an example of what those are?
Going inside of a burning building is high risk, and it doesn't happen every day. It happens 30 times, 35 times a month. So that's a low frequency for us, but a very high risk. A high frequency, low risk call would be I've fallen and I can't get up. So it's an emergency to that person, but it's not necessarily an emergency to us. It's just another frequent call that we make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and what I love about all that is that I can't even imagine the spectrum of calls that you get. It's the bird, the cat in the tree. It's somebody who had a heart attack. It's a fire. It's a whatever, and they show up. Mm-hmm. And there's no questions asked. There's no judgment. It is, we are here to help. Literally, we're the government. We're here to help. But Garland firefighters and fire department shows up regardless of what that call is. And I love that. I love that about the department.
Absolutely. We see people at their absolute worst situations. And like you said, Mr. Rex, there's no judgment. You can be at your absolute worst, and we're going to try to make your day better by being there. And then we go back to the fire station and yuck it up and have a good meal and wait for the next call. But that happens 80 times a day. It's that full spectrum from a fallen and can't get up to a Sherwin-Williams. You just never know what's in store that day.
So then walk us through a typical day for fire. What do they do? When do they get into the firehouse? I mean, what happens when they're there?
Their start time is 7 a.m. They usually show up about 6 a.m., start getting ready. They start checking equipment. If a call comes in between 6 and 7, typically the oncoming crew will go ahead and take that call so the other crew doesn't get delayed on going home. And then they're going to check all their equipment. They're probably going to have a really good breakfast. They're going to make some calls. They're going to go to training. They're going to have in-house training. They're going to not have lunch typically here in Garland. A lot of times it's have a snack or something like that for lunch. They're going to have some downtime where they're going to try to relax and chill out for a little bit, and then they're going to start cooking supper, and they're going to have a phenomenal supper. Most stations have got some really good cooks. And then the evening, we'll continue making calls, and for many stations, it'll go well into the dark of night and start slowing down again around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then get up and go home.
So that doesn't leave much time to sleep then overnight.
It's not a lot. That downtime in the afternoon, it can be referred to as extra training or mandatory safety nap, and it's to try to prepare your body once again. And we used to laugh about that. The fire service of old, there was no sleeping during the day. It didn't matter if you had nothing to do, don't sleep. And we've realized now the importance of sleep in our profession, and sleep deprivation detriments to our bodies, and so we try to get rest when we can.
Well, that's where you use the word firehouse to describe a station, and it's true.
It absolutely is.
If you're somewhere for 24 hours, that is your house,
mm-hmm.
and you might share it, in the case of firefighters, with people on your shift, the next shift that's coming in, and but it truly is kind of a home base. And so whether it's cooking a meal or just waiting for a call, there's that kind of home base feel to it. And I know that those firefighters get really close to each other in a house as a family. And talk about that part of it, the kind of the culture of the fire department.
That's probably the best part of the fire service is the family. And you sit at the table, you eat together, you play together, you relax together, you work together. And there are times that a firefighter in reality will spend more hours with their crew than they do with their home family, just because of schedules. If their spouse works, when they're coming home, the spouse is off to a job, and they're 2 days off. That spouse is gone for 8 of that. They're going to come home and probably have a good supper, put the kids to bed, give them baths, put them to bed, and then everybody goes to bed. So waking hours, we probably spend more time with that firehouse family than we do with our own. And I'm ashamed to say that, but it's just the fact and the nature of the job. And we fuss with each other just like a home family does. The other 2 roommates we have on those days that we're off that are supposed to take care of the firehouse, we can't stand to the ones that follow us because they're nitpickers, and the ones before us are do-gooders. So it never fails that you have internal battles as well in a firehouse.
And you're talking about there that the do-gooders and the nitpickers, the 2 different shifts that are before and after that shift that's coming out. Can you talk about our structure then, our shift structure and our schedules and all that?
Currently, we work a 24-hour period on duty and a 48-hour period off duty. We have a minimum staffing requirement where we minimally staff 62 people per day, and that's whether it's Christmas Day or next Wednesday. It's 62 people minimum. There are 85 people assigned to each shift. They can be on vacation holidays. They pick their vacation and holiday time. For instance, we're picking vacation holidays right now for calendar year 26. So if you want off in December of 26, you've got to put your time in now to try to reserve that day, because we only have so many that can be off each day. And then firefighters get hurt. Their bodies break, and they're going to be on workers' comp or light duty for anywhere from a few days to a few weeks to a few months. And the schedule itself, we try not to mess with that family unit, if you will, more than we need to. There will be guys that get transferred out of a station, somebody else comes in, but as a whole, we don't typically go blow up an entire crew and spread them out and bring new people into that crew. There's district knowledge that gets lost when you do that, and there's that continuity and that feel of family. You don't have to build the family every time a transfer list comes out. But the schedule itself, from 0600, if you will, until the following 0600. And it may be one of the most boring days you've ever had in your life, or you may get 0 sleep that shift. You just never know what's in store for that house that day.
Go ahead.
No, that's the fascinating thing to me, that I typically know when I go into work, I know what I'm going to be working on that day, but you guys have no idea what kind of call is going to come in.
None whatsoever. And I refer to our occupation as tactical athletes or occupational athletes, that a football player can tell you about how many minutes he's going to have to play. He can tell you what time of day he's going to play. He can tell you what atmosphere he's going to play in, and he knows how to hydrate and what nutritional needs he's going to need that day. A occupational athlete comes in and may not play that day. They may not ever get on the field to play, or they may stay on the field the entire shift, and we just never know. And so we try to prepare our bodies. We try to get adequate rest before our duty day, but life also happens when we're off. So.
Well, and training for that, not just the spectrum of calls, but what'd you call it, the athlete? The
occupational or tactical. Yeah.
Like training for all that is just next level, because you really don't know what you're walking into. And there's a lot of certifications, there's qualifications, licenses that firefighters have. Talk a little bit about that and what a typical Garland firefighter looks like.
A typical Garland firefighter walks in the door with anywhere from a GED to a master's degree. But the more education they have, the more likely they have discovered that that's not what they wanted to do in life. And so they bail out on all of that and come back to be a firefighter. It's a blue collar job. We can paint it whatever we want it to be, but it is hard work. It's dirty work. And you got to be passionate about that job. And so our firefighters come in the door like that. They go to a recruit academy to get their fire certification. They get out of it and immediately go to EMT school, where they get their base medical training. and then they're a certified firefighter. We typically start them, this crew we got coming in is going to start in November. They will get out roughly July, August time frame and be ready to go to the field for a little bit. We've now established, we've now established that after EMT school, the following January, they're going to paramedic school. They're immediately headed out. They're going to go do their thing, get trained as a paramedic, and then come back to us fully trained, fully outfitted. We will mentor them and do some shifts where they're riding with a shift training paramedic who oversees and makes sure that they're ready. They go through accreditation from our medical control group. And when everybody signs off on them, they're full-fledged one of us. Now, they may work on their advanced certifications through continuing education. They may work on their degree if they didn't have one before. They may go to Swiftwater training and become a Swiftwater technician. They can join the hazmat group. They can do high-angle rope rescue. It's you name it. It's everything that you could think would make a great script on some fire show on television. We're ready. Yeah.
You are the script.
Yes, we are.
They base those shows off of real life things that happen.
That they do.
Mm-hmm.
A day in the life of a firefighter, and I mean, it sounds like if I'm a resident of Garland, and I have to call 911, whether it's for a stove fire or I've got a medical issue. Our folks show up and they are well trained, well qualified, they have the right equipment, and they're there. They've got the right heart for it too, as we kind of talked about before.
That's it, and that's that passion, and it's a passion to serve in a community, and they're the best. There's no other way to put it. We've got the absolute best, and when they're at their worst, they're still phenomenal. And then 30,000 calls a year, we might get 4 or 5 complaints. Now, those 4 or 5 complaints, we are very sorry that we didn't meet their expectations that day. But we can also hold our heads high knowing that 29,996 times we met that expectation. So, yeah. And then we try to work on what did we do wrong or what could we done better at those complaint situations and try to learn from them.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. You guys are always out there training. You're always out there in the community, too. Can you talk to us a little bit about the public education aspect of it? And I definitely want to put a plug in for the Citizens Fire Academy. It's something I went through last fall. I was, last episode, pumping up the Citizens Police Academy. Now it's the Citizens Fire Academy I want to give a shout-out to because that was a wonderful experience.
I appreciate you doing that, and appreciate you going through our program, and I think that since you've been through both of them, you can probably attest that ours is way better.
The food's better.
Yes, the food is way better, and the activities, we noticed class before last that PD sent a couple of people through, and I was not real sure, but I think they were SPYs. So, just because they took a lot of the things back to the Citizens Police Academy that they learned in Citizens Fire Academy. So it's a good banter back and forth. They've got a great program. We've got a better program with better food, and we're involved in that. The other things that we do, we've reached this year, I think our numbers are like 50,000 people in the community that we made contact with in some shape, form, or fashion. Whether it is our public educator, Jerry Click, I got to give props to that guy. His motto is Pub Ed never sleeps. So Jerry, you may find him at craft at midnight teaching fire extinguisher use, or you'll see him back out there at 5 a.m. when the next shift is starting up teaching them fire extinguisher use. And he is out there all over the place. Our firefighters also, when they're on duty in their district, some event taking place, or a homeowners group that is having a block party and they wanted the fire department to drop by, those guys go by. And we believe that that's part of the job, and that's how we inspire others to be our job.
I remember in elementary school, I got a chance to go. We took a field trip to the fire station and got to meet and all got to take pictures sitting on the big red truck.
Yeah.
And they still do that here.
They do, and it's fun. And probably shouldn't say this, but I'll give it a shot anyway. The guys dread it. You know, they want to go fight fire. They want to go to a big crash or somebody having a heart attack. But a bunch of little kids are coming by and say, oh, my gosh, we got such and such day school coming today. But the minute those people walk in the door, you watch those firefighters. And they are all grins and smiles and yucking it up and having a good time and teaching a public safety message to the little kids and to the teachers and taking photo ops and just absolutely eat it up.
To those kids, they're heroes.
Oh, yeah.
They're real-life heroes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing like sitting in the back of a fire truck and look out the window at a stoplight and some little kid in a car seat waving to you. And it reminds you your role in the community. And I don't think we see ourselves as heroes, but we know that people are looking at us and they're looking to us and they're looking for us. And so
It's hard to miss those big trucks.
it is. It is.
Yeah. Well, I know when I went through the Citizens Fire Academy, all of them said, every firefighter I talked to, we're just doing our job.
That's it.
They don't think they're anything special. They're just doing their job.
Yeah. There's an old joke that a little kid's talking to an old crusty firefighter and says, you know, what do you want to be when you want to grow up? And he goes, when I grow up, I want to be a fireman. He says, you got to make a choice. You're either going to grow up or you're going to be a fireman. And so we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. You know, what's the best prank that you've heard being pulled in the firehouse?
I'm not allowed to speak of that. The statute of limitations hasn't run out.
Can't clean it up for the podcast, you know?
Yeah. One of the former fire chiefs here, he's still quoted today with the trouble with trouble is it started out as fun. And so there's a lot of fun had in a firehouse. Mm-hmm. And some of it turns into trouble and we have to do things that we don't like doing. But there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun from events happening with shaving cream to water fights to food fights to you name it. And if we make a mess, we clean it.
Yeah. So that's great.
That's the rules.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I've never been in a fire station that isn't incredibly clean.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pride there in the firehouse because
Mm-hmm.
it's like your own house.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take care of it. You want to leave it good for the next group, for the next shift, and there's a lot of pride there in the service.
Absolutely is. It's even in top budget years, we're still going to buy rags and cleaning solutions so that we can take care of the gifts that the community provides for us, and that's a great firehouse and a great fire engine and a great ambulance and all the other things that we need to do our job. And the guys take a lot of pride in that, and they want to take good care of it. It is theirs that day. Nobody else gets to touch it. It's mine.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that budget, too. You brought up budgeting, and I know it seems like every budget year is a tight budget year. These fire apparatuses, they're not cheap. They're several $1 million just for a fire engine.
Yep.
Right now, we're in the middle of building 3 new fire stations. Actually, we have one that opened. Fire Station 6 is off of George Bush. It opened up recently. Fire Station 7 and our Central Fire Station 1 is going to be opening very soon. Talk a little about what the fire service, what our budgeting is, you know, how we're getting providing what we need to our firemen. I want to also talk, we have a committee put together right now for the future of fire delivery, and of course the budget works its way into that as well.
It absolutely does, and we're real fortunate for all the things that we are provided. The community voted in the 2019 bond election to replace those 3 fire stations, and they were in dire need of replacement. So we're gracious to the community for approving that. They're going to be something that everybody in this community would be proud of. If you've seen the one on George Bush with the big red 6 out front, that is our new Fire Station 6. Absolutely gorgeous station. It was modeled after where Fortunate Son Pizza is right now. If you look from the square, there's an awning that runs with a clear story window line above it and windows below it, and that fire station was mid-century modern to mimic a lot of our downtown. So there's little features like that in everything that we do here. But the stations are going to be great. They are built with the idea that brick and mortar is cheaper today than it is tomorrow, so we're overbuilding these stations for future planning. For if we need to expand, we'll already have everything we need for it. Fire apparatus, man, what a challenge. Right now, they're about 3 to 3.5 years out. We've been very fortunate. We issued POs for 3 engines and a ladder truck back in 22 or 23 when the PO was issued. Those will be delivered probably January of 26, maybe February of 26.
Wow, it takes 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah. And they're going to be really nice. They're going to last a long time, and it's the foresight of our team to place these orders in advance with letters of intent or with POs as appropriate, and get spots in line for building these things. And a lot of people are under the impression that there is conspiracy, if you will, to slow down production to drive prices up. And all that's not the case at all. There was a lot of money dumped during COVID into the economy, and a lot of the ARPA money went towards fire apparatus. And so everybody had money, everybody placed orders. And so they're doing everything to catch up. And it may be a Cummins issue that they can't get enough Cummins power plants or PACCAR power plants or tires or any number of things that slow down the production cycle. But it's worth the wait. And we're gracious. Mr. Rex doesn't give us any money. We have to, just kidding, sir. You've done really well with us.
Well, you guys make it easy, but it's also, when you look at the spectrum of things that we fund, public safety is number one.
Yeah.
And that's what Garland Fire Department is. That's what Garland Police Department and some of our other core services are. And, to the point about the fire trucks, like, we're not the only fire department, not just in the Metroplex, but you think across the whole country, the number of fire trucks that have to get manufactured, and every community has to have one. And so there's hundreds of thousands of orders probably in there too, just to complicate things.
There are, and a lot of the smaller builders didn't survive COVID due to parts restrictions and everything else, and they got absorbed. Others have cranked back up and are trying to produce fire apparatus again. But it's interesting. Our salesman was visiting with some chiefs recently, and they were complaining about the build times. And our salesman told them, you need to call Garland because our team has been foresighted enough to see what our needs are, and we're placing orders well in advance with something as simple as a letter of intent. So, yeah.
And Mayor, you kind of alluded to the Fire and EMS committee that's been put together, and it originated back, Chief, when we were having budget discussions this year, and realizing and recognizing that there was a lot changing around us in terms of the schedules that different fire departments are on in the Metroplex, what it means to stay competitive from a recruiting standpoint, the health and the science behind the health of our firefighters, because they're subjected to things that that we have to take into consideration, not just the sleep, but the chemicals, the fires. We have to take into consideration the health of our firefighters, and so that was kind of the origin of it. We had a lot of conversations leading into the budget, and went to council in June and said, hey, a lot of things are changing. Let's put a group of council members, community members together that really are going to do a deep dive into our schedule, into our service model, and we're just scratching the surface now. We still have a long ways to go, but I think this is going to be one of those things that we point back to and say, I'm so glad we did that, because even if you just take the educational component of it and what everybody around the table is learning about the fire service and how it plays out in Garland, that's a huge win. But ultimately, I think we do hope to see some recommendations out of there, and ultimately we'll see where that goes.
Absolutely, and the science. We talked a lot about sleep, and we talk about cancer in the fire service, and we're many times more likely to contract certain cancers over the general population We look at the behavioral health and the mental health aspects of providing the services that we do. You mentioned the things that our people see. A normal person may come across one catastrophic event maybe once in their lifetime. Ours guys do it multiple times per month. And it's again, seeing people at their absolute worst, and the conditions may be at their absolute worst, and it wears on our people, and it takes time to process the things that they go through. And so that's some of the science that we want to study and learn more about, and figure out if it's a reason to change the firefighter schedule. And then the service delivery models we talk about, the entire city of Garland runs very, very lean. And by that I mean we do a lot with a little. And our people take great pride in that. And that's from the library group to the firehouse to the police department. People work really, really hard to provide very, very high level services. And I know y'all have talked budgetary numbers and the sales tax that Garland doesn't get the privileges of, the extra penny that plays with DART, and all of these other things that restrict our finances also restrict our ability to take a breath, and to have our people relax just for a minute. And so we've got to look at that. We got to look at how do we do the same high level services with a restricted budget, and does it mean we need to change? We don't know yet, but that's the purpose of this key stakeholders group, and we're very honored that y'all allowed us the opportunity to do a deep dive and look at our service levels.
And all those meetings, they're all being recorded. The public can listen to all those if they want. And they're still going to go on for another several months before they come up with any recommendations.
Absolutely. This is a 9-month project, and we're 2 months in. So it's going to be real interesting. I think that some people, as they listening to these presentations, may have already come to conclusions, but I hope that they will continue to open their minds and open their hearts and hear what's being presented each month, learn from those presentations, because there's a nugget at least in every one of them. And as we get towards possible solutions, we identify the problem and then look at solutions to the problem and then come up with the solution is my hope. So.
Well, in this the meeting this next month, and I forgot to mention the host committee for this is the Public Safety Committee, which is the 3 council members. So the November meeting is going to be dedicated all to the numbers, the finances behind the fire department, and everything that comes along with that. So it'll definitely be an interesting one, and encourage the public to tune in for really a huge deep dive when it comes to the numbers behind the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
So then, from that committee, they're going to be looking at the future of fire service in Garland. What do you think the future of fire service looks like in Garland? As far as technology, as far as our delivery, open up your crystal ball. And
That's what it takes. A lot of speculation
exactly.
here. I think that we are going to be a employer of choice. I think that we are in the group that people would send. A firefighter in another city would send their child to be a firefighter in Garland. I think that we have that reputation, that culture, that ability to be recommended by many. I think that'll continue. I believe that we will adopt technology as it comes. A lot of times we can't be totally reliant on the technology, though, because we all know what happens with technology. And if it hiccups, we can't just push a pause button and wait for it to reboot. We have to continue serving and continue working. We do try to adopt technology where we can. Sometimes the technology is cheaper than a consultant and can give us the same information if we know how to put the data in. So we will explore things like that. The technology on fire trucks may change a little bit. I think we're still a decade or two away from that, but I think you'll see more control from a nozzle than necessarily from a pump panel on pressures and water flows and stuff. I believe that the schedule of the firefighter is going to change. I think that the 24 on and the 48 off has now been proven by science that it's not enough time to recover from your 24-hour shift. So I believe that that's going to change. What it's going to look like, man, I don't know yet. I think I do. The city of Plano has adopted a plan to reach a 1 day on, 3 days off, which is equivalent to a 42-hour work week, which is closer to the normal population of a 40-hour work week. So I believe that we're going to see a 42-hour work week at some point in the fire service universally. It's already been adopted in other parts of the country, and I would look for changes in the DFW metro area because of one department that's already gone. They're going to become a higher employer choice, and there's either you're going to have to keep up, or you're going to have to find other ways to attract. And so if the science says take care of our people, then that's my goal, is take care of our people.
Speaking of the schedule, because I know that's important, that ties back to a lot of the things we've visited about, the 24/72 schedule that Plano went to. I know there's other departments in our area that are on alternate schedules as well. What are some of those look like?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that question. There's the 56-hour work week is accumulated in many ways, and that's the 24/48, 24 on, 48 off, results in a 56-hour work week. The 48/96 schedule is still a 56-hour work week. You just work 48 of it clumped together. And then there's another one called the Portland schedule, and it is 1 day on, 3 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off. It's 1-3-2-3. But again, that's another 56-hour work week. So once again, the science indicates that all of those 56-hour work weeks are not enough time for the human body to recover effectively to a normal state before you're subjected to the work, the job again. So reducing it to a 42-hour work week is a goal. In our metro area, we actually just took a look at the COG, and every paid fire department, every city served in the North Central Texas Council of Government, so the 16 county, well, I take it back, we did the 4-county region. Denton, Garland, Tarrant, and Dallas counties. We took all of those fire departments, got their schedules, and we found most of them are 48/96. We found that a few of us are still 24/48. Plano is 24/48 moving to 24/72, and Allen is moved to the 1-3-2-3. Now, the 48/96, it sounds like if everybody's doing it, why are we not doing it? The one thing that I noted in there is 230,000 population seems to be the cutoff. 230,000 and below, go 48/96. Greater than 230,000, they're still on 24/48. So I thought that was a significant finding when we took a look.
Yeah, well, that puts us just above there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love to get to a few resident questions if you got
Okay.
time for it.
You bet.
Yeah, a lot of them are certainly centering around this stakeholder committee that we're putting together. Privatizing our EMS, that's the big one everyone wants to know about. It was mentioned briefly in the committee, but no decision has been made yet. Is that right?
There is no decision been made yet, and Mark Lee lives in the city of Garland. And I want to have the absolute best EMS services out there, and I don't believe a fully privatized system is an answer to Mark Lee to have great EMS services. The Garland Fire Department provides great EMS services. The Garland Fire Department, as long as I'm the fire chief, will still provide the EMS services. Could there be partnerships of a public-private partnership in there? Man, I don't know. That could be a solution that we could take a look at. But I can tell you, as long as I'm a resident in Garland and as long as I'm the fire chief in Garland, we will not privatize our EMS. I'm not turning that control over to anybody other than the fire department. And I'll stand strong on that every day.
And you talked earlier, as soon as everyone gets out of the fire academy, they go right into EMT training.
Right into EMT, and then into the next January, they're off to paramedic school. That will not change either under my regime. When I got here, we were sending 6 people per year to paramedic school, and we were having 7 or 8 retire every year, and we were losing track, and our people were riding the ambulance because they were a paramedic, and we had a whole bunch of non-paramedics that could only ride the engine because we run a 2 paramedic system. And if you've listened to the key stakeholder group recordings, Tim Nowak talked about that a little bit. But the standard in the DFW metro area is 2 paramedics on an ambulance. And we adhere to that, and we are proud that we are able to do that, but we were beating our people up. So we jumped out there and sent 52 people to paramedic school in a matter of about 18 months and got caught up so that the only non-medics we have right now will go to paramedic school in January. And then we'll do that every January and continue. No matter what our service delivery model may look like, the Garland Fire Department will be a paramedic program.
That's great to hear for our citizens.
Can y'all tell you got my passion up
I
now?
did, yes. Yeah, you're fired up there.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
I had to
Fired up
back.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
High risk.
Yeah. Well, Chief, really appreciate you coming, speaking with us and spending some time with us, talking about fire delivery and all that's going into it. And I just one final question I have for you is, how can our citizens best support our firemen?
Man, they do such a good job today.
I'll just let you think, and I'll give you an example of what my neighborhood has done for years. That Fire Station 3 is very close to our neighborhood. Every Thanksgiving, we provide a Thanksgiving meal for them, taken out. And I know that those pies they bake for them don't last long around that fire station there.
Pie and ice cream never last long at all. Cookies are probably second to pie and ice cream. It's every neighborhood has a firehouse, and the men and women that work in those firehouses are there because they are passionate about serving. And when a community even just drops by and says, "Hey, we appreciate you," it means the world to our personnel. And it's not expected, it's not demanded, but it's always welcomed. And like I say, Bluebell goes a really long way in a firehouse. Yeah. So, again, the 2019 bond, the fire stations that we're building, the remodels that we're doing on the existing stations right now, that the community's been very patient on those remodels. They know that their firemen are coming home, and they're going to be back in that station, and they're going to be healthier, and they're going to do the job just as well as they've always done it, even when they were temporarily located in a trailer behind the station or at another fire station serving. And our people do it every day, and they absolutely love it. And when the community, even just when that little kid sitting in the back seat of mama's car looks up and waves at that fireman, that means the world to us. It's just gratitude. We don't expect anything, but we welcome everything.
Yeah. That's wonderful to hear. And we're grateful to have you here today. Yep. And what a way to end up Fire Awareness Month. It's October. Yep. Perfect to have you at the end of October recording with us. So thank you to everyone who is tuning into our podcast. Please go subscribe on your favorite platform, iTunes, Spotify. Leave us a review if you want. I would like to know, get your feedback from citizens. And remember that new episodes of Fifth Estate drop every first Monday of the month. We'll see you next time. Good night, Garland.